Hi, I'm Joe, the Video Whisperer, and today I'm going to do a camera review, something I've never done before. But this little guy has got me real excited. Well, the name of the camera is up there at the top of the video. It's got so many letters I can never remember it, and they don't write it on the camera, but it's one of the SONY NX Cam series. I believe that's right. Yeah, NX Cam, that's what it says on here. And as far as I know, it's well, first of all, it's been out for a while, okay? So it's not like a brand new camera. It's probably already been updated with something more expensive. But it's a killer. I've been a cameraman all of my life. 35 years as a professional cameraman. I have operated just about everything there is. Slight exaggeration, but 16 millimeter cinematography cameras, 35 millimeter cinematography, all kinds of video cameras. I lugged an 18-pound Sony Betacam around the planet for 6 years. Battle tank of a camera. But all in all, I'm not a camera snob. I was looking to upgrade my trusty Canon XH-A1 tape-driven camera to a card-based camera and modern technology. But the update of that camera was something like in the 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 pound range, and that's not what I was looking at wanting to spend. So I started doing a search in the $2,000 or less range, and I came up with two cameras I'd never even seen before. It seems to be a new class of camera. Now, what I mean by new class, they've got the so-called professional cameras, and then they have the prosumer cameras, which are smaller. But the reason they're still professional mainly is because they have the audio inputs and all the manual controls. And then you go down into the automatic handycam type stuff. Well, they've come up with something in between the quote-unquote prosumer and the little handycams. And that's this one. Canon's got one too called the AX10, which is the first camera I started looking at. Now, interestingly, on both of these cameras, what they've done is they've packed a tremendous amount of technology and quality into a smaller body. The compromise was simply it couldn't then have all of the usual manual knobs that the prosumer and professional cameras have. So a lot of the stuff went into internal menus that you have to use with a certain limited number of knobs. But it does have the professional audio capability and all of that sort of thing. So I got interested, not because it was small, but because of the price, to tell you the truth. And then I started reading up on it and watching videos, and I went, oh my God. Check this out. I had never heard of this before. It had to do with the image stabilization characteristics of the camera. That is a demonstration of the steadiness of this camera. And that's the first shot I ever did right there. Unfucking believable. Pardon my French. That is impressive. End of test. Interestingly, a couple of weeks ago, I wrote an article on my blog called Unshackled Camera Work, and you should read it. It's linked below in the video description. I didn't know this camera existed at the time that I wrote it. But now that I have this camera, there's a certain relevancy to what I'm about to tell you what this camera can do. Now let's get a few things out of the way first. Like I mentioned, it's got your professional audio capability, really, really nice. And all of that comes right off. So you can go around like this with this little guy. But anyway, it has fantastic image quality. It's got a Carl Zeiss lens on it. It's incredible in low light situations, which is one of the things I was looking for. And I've done some tests to show you that. And some of the capabilities of it, all right, it's got face recognition. You go, yeah, right, face recognition. But look, If you're a cameraman from the cinematography era, or even I suppose modern red shooters and all that, you usually have to have a guy, a completely separate person, an assistant, a focus puller to keep everything in focus with your shallow depth of field cameras. And when you're a lone shooter, running around with your, professional cameras, you probably very often have to manually do it yourself, and it's a hit or miss situation. And most autofocuses on these prosumer and professional video cameras don't work that well, so most people don't use them. Well, I tested this thing today, and I could see there in the viewfinder the little box as it found the face. And if you walk toward that face or walk away from it, it knows that's what you want in focus. And its autofocus tracking capability is fantastic. It's unbelievable. Now, let's say you don't want a face. Let's say it's a dog or something else. You tap on the screen, it recognizes that shape, and same thing. As it comes toward you or goes away from you, it keeps it in focus. Well, okay, that's pretty cool. It really is pretty cool. But the main thing that I'm going to tell you about in the video and show you demonstrations of is its image stabilization capabilities. Now, the Canon version of this, I guess it's a version of this, or this is a version of it, has really good built-in image stabilization, and that's image processing. The Sony goes one step further. It's got built-in image stabilization, and it also has, if you'll notice, oh, wait a minute, I got to open this up. All right. I don't know if you can see it, but that lens is wobbling around. The lens and the receptor element, whatever you call that, are floating in there. Don't really know how it works particularly. I guess it must be some sort of gyro stabilized, electro gyro. I don't know. But let me tell you, when you lock that mode in called active mode, it's almost like having a Steadicam. Ironically, in my enthusiasm to test it in town, I didn't even have it in active mode and didn't realize it. So what you're looking at here are some shots that are just showing off the camera's built-in image stabilization, which is pretty good. And then right after that, add to that the Final Cut Pro 10 image stabilization on that shot, there's the end result. So I thought, if it's that good just with standard stabilization turned on, what's the active mode like? So now we're going to look at a few shots in the active mode. All right, well, as you can see, I'm walking backwards, and that's not too easy to do and hold the camera steady. Now what we're going to do is we're going to now take it into the editing program and further stabilize it. This is Final Cut Pro 10. And as you can see, we have something damn near good as a Steadicam shot. All right, now let's try flat out running. You know how that comes out when you try to shoot it. A little rough. And now we'll put it into the editing program, and as you can see, not too bad. Not perfect, but not bad. All right, here's a brisk walk down the hallway into the kitchen. This is just the camera stabilization. And now we'll stabilize it further with the editing program. All right, now this is a bit of a dolly shot. This is just the camera. And notice that its facial recognition is keeping her face in focus. That's what it's set on. This is still just the camera. And now I'm going to add a little further stabilization with the editing program. Probably wasn't even needed. All right, coming up is a shot outside again. It's the first part is a pan, and then I move into a run. Notice the pan looks like it could be on a tripod. And now I'm going to break into a run behind her. I tripped over that raised step there, so it's a little bit rough. A little bit rough. All right. And now I bring that shot in and stabilize it with the editing program. not too bad. Not too bad at all. And this next shot is going to be an editing program stabilized shot after the camera. So anyway, this would be the end result of all the tools you've got. And as you can see, that's damn near as good as any Steadicam shot. And here's one at a brisk walk. These next few shots are showing something you wouldn't normally do, but this is extreme telephoto handheld pans. Looks just like it's on a tripod. And this is a static handheld, full zoom. And the next one coming up, you wouldn't necessarily do that, but it's handheld wide angle. No reason why you wouldn't. All right, this one here is a panning shot, and it's showing how it's tracking the face and keeping it in focus. Same thing here. And now slow motion, pretty clean slow motion, sharp focus all the way through. Here's a handheld boom up shot. Now let's try some stairs. This is just the camera. This is not further stabilized with the editing program. Walking downstairs. All right, while we're on the subject of pretty girls, I thought I might mention that it also has still photo capability, as many of these cameras do. This happens to be 21 megapixels, which is better than my Canon 650. All right, well, I want you to know that the thrust of the testing I've done so far was on the camera's steady capabilities and not on its other features so much. For the most part, I think the camera's on automatic for everything that I did, and I made no attempt to do any color correction or anything like that in post. That's just the way it was. I'm going to get into the other stuff later, but that stuff is like any other camera. The thing that I showed you on this camera isn't, which is why I wanted to make a special video on it. So, but it does have a couple other things I should mention, which are a bit surprising. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let me get this turned on. It's got a built-in camera light, a pretty bright LED, which should come in handy in a night interview shoot or even daytime fill. Now this little viewfinder, it's gone green. By the way, it has, I must have pushed the night, it also has, what do they call that? Night vision. Let me turn that off. But the other cool thing that it's got, as you see that light, that's not the camera light. The camera light's here. That light is coming out of the back of the screen, and what it does is it enables you to project the viewfinder onto a wall. Can you believe that? Anyway, the main thing I wanted to get across, and as I mentioned in my write-up in my article, Unshackled Camera Work, don't be fooled into the idea that you need to have a big honking camera or fancy equipment like glide cams, stabilizers, cranes, dollies, Steadicams to be professional or to impart a cinematic look to what you're doing. This little camera packs a lot of punch, and the main thing is it unencumbrances you from, is that a word? From all that technical stuff, all that other equipment. I'll tell you, that stuff is fiddly. Setting up a dolly shot, setting up a Steadicam, all this kind of stuff. If you're on a film shoot or you're on a video shoot with a crew and a director who goes lights, camera, action, cut, set up the next shot, you have half an hour to set it up, fine. But if you're a run and gun shooter, if you're doing a wedding or a live event, you don't have time to set up all this fancy stuff. Or if you think you do, there's all kinds of stuff you're missing while you're setting it up. So it's better to have your attention outward onto what you're shooting, into what you're doing, not into your camera or into your equipment. And all I'm saying is that little camera really lets you do that. All right, that's it. See you later.